Driven, Remax Hallmark's real estate show, with your hosts, Johnder, Perez, and Dan Salhany.
Okay, so I think we're ready to go, Dan?
We are all set. It is 2:01 p.m. We're a minute over our time limit.
Fantastic.
So
Okay.
welcome, everybody. Johnder?
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Welcome to the Driven Real Estate Show by Remax Hallmark. Today we have myself and Dan Salhany. We are interviewing a fantastic special featured guest today from a Remax Hallmark Realty Group in Ottawa. She is Jenniffer Alvarenga. Jenniffer, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. And if you have any questions, for those of you who are joining us, you can type it in, as Dan mentioned, into the chat box, or we'll have a Q&A afterwards, so you'll be able to participate interactively as well. Jen, are you ready?
I'm ready as I can be, really.
Fantastic. So let's jump right into it. Jenniffer, what is your secret to success in real estate?
You know, it's interesting because I thought of this a lot. And, you know, sometimes I think the secret of success and my team's success is, you know, the focus on quality, you know, surrounding ourselves with great people, be it, you know, family, friends, our suppliers, everyone, right? I think that when you surround yourself with quality, you enjoy more what you do and where you're at, right? But the reality is that I think that it's I owe everything to my family, where I am, and I mean my work family, my personal family, and I don't have a perfect one, you know, but I think that, you know, we always look after each other and keep trying and push each other to be, you know, the best version that we can. And I think that's what has been the secret to my success. You know, I owe a lot of where I am and what I do. And, you know, to be able to do what I love has to do a lot with my parents too.
Fantastic. So you speak about family, your work family, your immediate family, and your parents. Why don't you take us back into how you got started into real estate, or even before that? How did Jenniffer become who she is today, as far as her real estate success, and what did your family and upbringing have to do with where you are today?
So I come from Honduras, and I come from a family that started from zero. My dad didn't really have much money, and my mom's family had very little money. When I was little, they really worked really hard to get us into a really good school. So I went to school with kids that wore Gap and Limited, but I could never wear that. And back then, their sweaters would say Gap, and I really wanted that. Eventually, they changed it where you couldn't wear brands, or at least brands that expose themselves. But I always said, "Oh, Dad, I really want a Gap sweater. I really want this." And he would say, "Babe, I promise one day you'll have that and more," you know. And he worked really hard for us. So I saw them working a lot. The work ethic that they brought into our family was very, very admirable in a way, because it's really hard to juggle a family, work, and wearing so many hats, right? And now I live it, so I can better understand what it was for them. But we would have lunch together. They would have a small snack during lunchtime, and we would have lunch together at around 3 p.m. when we came back to school. And they would talk about real estate, because eventually when they started getting better in terms of financials and so forth, they would tell us about their day and how it's going and their tenants. And, you know, all I thought was, oh my God, we're drowning in mortgage payments, right? But it just put the real estate, you know, bug in my radar. And then eventually I came to Canada as an international student, and I said, there was the red or white limo that we have here, the OC Transpo, or you buy a car, but we ended up buying a place. My father and my mom basically gave me enough for a down payment, and we started investing here. My brother eventually joined 3 years later, and we started changing our investment strategies little by little. And yeah, so that's how I started in real estate. And it was my mom that pushed me to do my license, because our first realtor, unfortunately, didn't think that I was really, I get cold really easily. And the first condo that we purchased was a baseboard heating condo. So you can imagine the cost of, it used to be every 2 months. And you know, whoever can guess how much I spent my first bill of electricity, like, I swear I'll take my hat off, because it was a lot of money, and especially being a student from a poor country and seeing that bill, it was just like, I was scared of it.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So how many years have you been actually licensed then for real estate?
As a licensed agent, I've been since 2012.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned, when we had our discussion, you mentioned that your upbringing in Honduras, and we're going to talk about it a bit more too. Dan and I are going to dig deep into this for your, as far as preparedness for the current environment that we're in. Could you share a story about, maybe what kind of, I guess, challenges your family would have to be prepared for during your upbringing in Honduras, and how that can kind of relate to what we're experiencing here today?
So when we, in 1997, if I'm not mistaken, we had a hurricane. So we're in an area in the globe where there's hurricanes, and we had a hurricane coming. It was a strong hurricane, but anyways, it deviated. So it was coming down, and then it went up, and it left Honduras, like the shore. Anyways, my mom still went and bought a bunch of gallons of water, because we don't drink from our faucets down there. Bought a bunch of canned foods. She said, it's better to be safe than sorry. And anyways, our kitchen is in the second floor. Basically, our cars drive into the first floor, and we have to go up the stairs. So she made us carry all these things up to the second floor, and it was a lot. And we were making fun of her. We were saying that she was exaggerating, that she was crazy. Turns out the hurricane came back, and it came back more powerful, because it had gained a lot of momentum, I guess. And when it came back, it hit us hard as a country. I think it took us back like 40 years in our economy, and my mom was ready, and we ended up with a lot of family. One of my dad's partners in a company and his family, 4 kids and 2 adults, ended up in our house. So it was a household of like 15 people. If my mom wouldn't have gotten those things, we wouldn't have been able to help others, or even probably had enough for us, right? So because of that, when COVID started to, I started seeing in the news about COVID in China, I started thinking, with the Chinese New Year coming along, it's just a matter of time for this to get elsewhere. And then I have a friend in Austria who, of course, they're weeks ahead of us. And she told me, Jen, it's serious. Take it seriously. Like, tell everyone that it's really serious. Like, I was one of those that thought it was nothing. Stop exaggerating, live life as normal, just, but it is serious. And she told me, there's no diapers here. The only things you find are things from Italy, because people are afraid of it. So because of that, I went and bought I was supposed to write my broker exam, and I rescheduled it. I didn't feel ready enough. So I used those 3 hours I had allocated for my exam to go buy food for us, because we buy everything fresh. So I never have canned stuff at home. And I bought booties, gloves, stuff that I thought might be useful for if things got delicate here in Ottawa, right? I would have those things to be able to better protect my sellers.
Right.
And buyers.
Absolutely.
So Jen, happy to have you here.
Distracted there, Dan?
No, I was just, somebody was actually emailing me, asking me for the link for this session. So I was just sending it to them. So tell me, 8 years in real estate, aside from COVID-19, so what was your biggest challenge starting out in this industry, and how did you overcome it?
I've had a lot of challenges. Like, I think that to this day, I'm not where we want to be, and we're still young. And I was thinking a lot about the fact that we treat real estate very differently than other businesses. Because if you look at businesses like Apple, Shopify, any company out there has had to have debt, has had to struggle, has had their moments where, they're thinking that they're gonna give up and they're not gonna make it. And for some reason, it's almost like an expectation that you get into this industry, start driving a nice car, and you're successful, and that's not real. There's a lot of behind the scenes, and we've been on social media a little bit more lately, and we realized that it's really hard to share all the behind the scenes, and that's what makes it hard for people to appreciate our industry and what we do. And that's why we have to work harder to showcase that, you know, we are worth what we pay. We don't just put your listing on MLS and pray for it to sell. Like, we actually do a lot, so much that we can't even show you on social media everything we do, right? So I think there's just been, you know, a lot of things that have been challenging. I think one of the hardest one for me was I had to go back to school for immigration reasons, because I came as an international student, and then in order to stay, I have to apply, and things got complicated for me because of me being a realtor on commission, not on salary. So I needed to go back to school to get more points to qualify, basically. So I went back to school in 2015 to 2018, and it was really hard. And I leveraged myself a lot on my team to help me, because I had to be full-time in school, do good in school, to be in Canada, to be able to be in real estate, right? And you know, sometimes we forget about ourselves in this industry. And I know I did it myself in 2013, a year after starting. I burnt out. I ended up in the hospital. I had a condition. I couldn't see for a few days, you know, and it was a reality check. And, you know, coincidentally, I had just sold my biggest listing back then, which was a $3 million building, which I managed to double end. Funny enough, I got this listing. It's a really good friend of ours now, but I didn't know him. He was just, I promoted an ad on Facebook in 2013 of this, of my page. And it just shared my story and how I started. And we just shared similar stories. So he contacted me, and he had it listed with someone else. And I said, oh, I can't really talk to you until you're not in contract. I'm sorry. And then he canceled it and came and said, I'm ready to talk. And anyways, I managed to double end that listing. So I always say, you know, there is a God out there, and I know that he looks after us, and I know he looks after me at least. And I know he looks after all of us. We just have to pray, right? But I prayed, and I said, oh my God, God help me, you know, and the deal closed, so I didn't have to worry, and I took a bit of time off work. But I've had a lot of challenges that it's really hard to pinpoint that one of them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Jen, you shared with me, and I'm just going to fast forward a little bit to more current times in your career. You shared with me something, you and your husband, who's actually on the call. So you're married, your husband works with you, Leo, and your daughter. So you've got your daughter's how old?
16 months.
Right. So over the last 24 months, let's say, you know, obviously the market's been on the upswing in Ottawa up until the last 6 weeks, and the market in general. Yet you were able to, with the newborn, still propel your business to the point that when COVID-19 hit, we've obviously been observing your traction and your production and so forth. And, you know, it would appear that you're going in the other direction, and that your numbers are actually up over the last 6 weeks. So can you give us a little insight on, and share with us, like, you know, what was the attitude like going into this 6 weeks ago or 7 weeks ago? And I guess.
So I come from a background in business. That's what I did in school. And, you know, you have to adapt. And we were talking about this with Johnder, you know, like Blockbuster. They didn't adapt. Netflix came along, you know. If you're swimming, if we're drowning and we're swimming, you're going to swim farther. You're going to swim faster. You're going to try harder to not drown. At least I hope everyone here does that, right? But the reality is that, why are we looking at this as an issue and just staying put instead of trying to find a solution, right? I don't think this is just a matter of a few weeks. I think that we're going to have implications that change our industry for the next months, if not year or years. And we just need to figure out, what can I do to make sure that I'm still afloat, and what can I do to make sure that we can still operate, even if it's different, even if we have to change our workflows and our systems. We have to add extra steps, we have to work harder, but we can still be doing what we love, right? And I think it's a mindset thing, right? You have to change our chip in our head and be like, okay, what is the solution for this? Instead of getting so stuck on the problem, what will make this change? How can I make this lessen the impact negatively on me, on my clients, on everyone, right? On our team. You know, I had a show, like, so I go personally to every showing now just to make sure that, you know, people are actually using the booties we're providing in our listings and the gloves. And if it's an elderly couple, I managed to get a few masks before before they were sold out. And for my elderly or more at-risk clients, I provide those too. And, you know, realtors think it's funny or, oh, this is crazy, I'm going into surgery almost, but there's nothing extra, like nothing will be extra with what we're doing in taking care of people, because it's not about us. It's a sacrifice we are doing really for those that are the most vulnerable.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you brought these points up, because I do want to dig in a bit deeper, because a lot of listeners today are fellow realtors, fellow Hallmarkers, and some of our friends from other companies. And, you know, there's what we've seen is that there's two thoughts of this. One is, of course, the wait and see. Let's, you know, be a bit cautious, which I'm not saying it's of course we have to be cautious. It goes without saying. But then there's the mindset, as you said, of, you know, let's say this lasts for a bit longer. Let's say this goes for months or even a year. How do we now adapt into this market? And you've shared a couple of your ideas. Can you share with us, Jen, you know, what are you currently offering to your clients as far as maybe the service packages that you're offering? And you mentioned something interesting when we had a quick chat about you're actually charging a bit more for what you're offering. So why don't you dive deep into what is the value you're bringing to clients today amid this global pandemic? What does that value look like as far as the cost to your clients? And then what do they feel about that?
Yeah. So years ago, I was with a client who's a pharmacist, and he said to me, you charge too little. And I charged 5% back then. And I said, what do you mean? You would pay more if I charge you more? And he said, yes. So if I charge 6%, you would pay me more. And he's like, absolutely. I have never worked with an agent that looks after me the way you do, you know, and you just take on more than you need to, or that I expect, and it's in your true description as a realtor, that it gives me peace of mind. And yes, I would pay you more. Obviously, I won't charge him more. Like, it's almost like he's grandfather. But in our paperwork, I always, when I list a property at 6%, and now if I want a discount to 5%, it's my decision. No one is discounting me. Like, and I've done it. You know, you say, wow, these people are struggling, I really want to help them, or whatnot. And sure, you know, like, and I'll do it, but it's on me, you know, and it's no one like lowering my value as an agent, right? I had an executive of TD once that, you know, we were listing his property. He's in Toronto. We were listing here a property he had for his son here when he went to university. And he was like, I can't pay that. We don't pay that in Toronto. You know, I pay 3% in Toronto. And I said, this is not Toronto. I said, I cannot discount you my commission. And he's like, well, I just can't. It's just, I can't process it through my head to pay you more, because I don't ever pay more. So I said, let's do this. I get paid what I get paid because I'm risking everything. However, if you pay me a retainer, I can list it for lower. So we ended up listing it, I think, at 4.5, but I got a retainer, I think, of $1,000 back then. And recently we did also one with a retainer like a few weeks ago, and it was a $2,000 marketing non-refundable fee.
And what was unique about this? You mentioned that this was a different case, not the usual seller that you're dealing with.
So this one was a for sale by owner. She refused to pay the 5% or the 6%. She's like, that is crazy. She says, I can get, and she saw our packages and she said, I can get another agent to do these things. And I said, you know what, you can pay anyone to do it, but I can reassure you that very likely they won't be able to execute it the same way. Like, we take analytics into our marketing. We see what campaign is working versus which one isn't. We change just in the last 10 days. Leo would be able to give a better number on that, but we've doubled our marketing. I think in the last week, we spent like $7,000 just on marketing, video, photos, ads, and stuff like that. So, you know, COVID has impacted us. And, you know, I think every realtor in this room should be able to charge more, because you're going to have to put more work into it, you know, and it's a matter of showcasing. So for example, this is our, this is our booklet for like the first 2 packages. So can you see?
Yep.
So this one's a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
So this one's actually the most expensive semi in Ottawa of its kind. It's 19 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
We sold it for 1.215 in an agent open house, never hit MLS. And this is the most expensive house in Ottawa, like the Glebe and Old Ottawa South, on MLS at least. We sold it last year. It closed last year. And this one is it's a more expensive home so it's like a magazine. So can you guys see it?
Absolutely, yes.
You can, yes.
So we just offer like, so we make it more VIP. You know, when you go buy something at Tiffany's, you get a different treatment than if you go buy, you know, a piece of jewelry, for example, at a store like, I don't know, Aldo, you know, you're buying fantasy jewelry, like you get a different treatment. So if you give your client an experience and you give your client, you know, they stand out in how they're treated, you know, they'll see the value in what they're paying you. I mentioned the other listing we just closed a few days ago, and you know, they were debating. I had a 2-step listing appointment, and I told them what we did, how we worked, etc. We were going to talk about pricing. We spoke about pricing, and then they were going to think about it. We had a conversation the second time, and they said, you know, we're debating between your A and your B package, basically. And I just said, you know, I'll make it easy for you. I'll give you the B package with like the middle package for in between, so 2.75 instead. So we have 2.5, 3, and 3.5%, and he ended up taking it for 5.25. So you know, the middle.
Yeah, so you're basically offering different packages. They get to choose what rates based on the package and service level, and you're actually charging a bit more in these times because from what I've heard. Because of the caution that we have to take now, and you said this, now isn't the time to really discount those services or treat them any less. In fact, we should be more cautious, and in fact, we should be charging a bit more as long as the value is there.
And I think this is our opportunity as agents to regain our value, because we have to be out there, and no matter how careful we are, there's always a risk of us getting sick. And it comes back to our house and our kids and our families. So, you know, if you are risking yourself, the way it works really, like when you get an interest at a bank, the amount of risk you're putting into it, it's what your return is, right? So if you're risking more, why are you discounting your commission, right?
Right.
So you're obviously preparing yourself when you're going into these meetings with your consumer. You know, and I know through our conversations that it sounds like you've got a set plan and a very structured plan. So would you say that, you know, your business and where it is today and where it's going to carry through this process and through this time frame, because we don't know if it's going to be another week, another month, or another 3 months, you know, how would you say that you've got your business to the point of where it is right now?
You know what, Dan? It's really surrounding yourself by the right people. And, you know, you don't need to have a team to surround yourself with good people. Like, people are always trying to discount people. If I don't discount my commissions, why do I want to discount or negotiate what other people are making? Like, why do I want to make, you know, I have a team member, why do I want to squeeze them? You know, instead of making sure that they're happy, that they're making good money, that I'm generous with what I give them, and then they're happy to work with us, right? And that's what makes us a good family. We all look after each other, right? So I think that during these times, it's when you have to value what people are offering you and focus more on quality versus quantity, right? Because that's what's gonna make you step apart from the rest, right? I've given away, like I've walked away from listings when they want to discount me because it's my like it's my decision to take less or take more, right? And sometimes, you know, we think that, oh, we need this listing, or we really want to get this, you know, and you walk out with, you know, shamefully because you didn't get the listing. But the reality is that it's more you that has to decide what business you take than the client itself. Like, and if you don't think you're worth what you're charging, you will never be able to charge more. If your only way to negotiate and get a deal is by lowering your price, you're not going to enjoy this industry and you're going to burn out.
So it sounds like mindset, right? It sounds like you've got a very strong mindset, and you've surrounded yourself with people that, and I know that you mentioned something about getting involved in an external organization that's also helped you, and that you do some training that's outside of real estate, which has also opened up some opportunities for you to make some really good connections. So could you speak to us a little bit about that? And then we'll get into what your typical day looks like.
So I think you're just referring to Colt's training, right?
That's one thing, yeah, but I know that you're, sure, go ahead and give us a little bit of insight on that.
So I've known Colt Charlebois since I joined Hallmark in 2017, but I finally took him on as a somewhat coach, and to be honest, he helped me a lot with the mindset, because when COVID started, I was on panic mode. The first 2 weeks, and my friends and everyone can attest to this, I was like, oh my God, the world is coming apart. Like, look at this. And I was just like a media source of negativity. And then he said, Jen, change your mindset, you know, and you need to look at it in a different way. And then I started to reach out to people and check in on them. How are you? What do you need? How's everyone? Like, you know, and people start to share their stories, right? And they start to see that, you know, you're not just calling to sell or buy their house. And, you know, it makes a difference, because then you have true connections and friendships with both clients and friends and everyone, right?
What does a typical day look like in Jen Alvarenga's world? And I know you've got lots of structure, so maybe you can give us a little bit of an idea.
I wouldn't say I have structure, Dan. Maybe that's what it seems. And it's interesting, right? Like, you know, like we always think, oh, that agent is so successful, they have their stuff together. And really deep inside or behind the scenes, it's not like that. In fact, I'm very structured when I'm dealing with like a listing, and I'm like, you know, I go, and I do all the steps. You know, right now we're working on our workflows, so nothing falls through the cracks and stuff, and getting things a little bit more like the reminders and prompting you to do things more automatic. But in terms of other stuff, I'm full of ideas, and I have a hard time sometimes executing. And that's why, you know, we've brought in new people on board to help us execute, because it's tough. You wear so many hats, you know, and it's hard to have it perfect, and it isn't perfect at all, but you know, you have to keep trying. So a day in my life is I wake up, I give my daughter a fruit or some breakfast. I'll check emails while she's playing a little bit, and then Leo and I kind of like alternate between who's taking care of her, and depending on what we have to do. The last 2 weeks were really hard because we launched like almost 10 properties, and we were marketing 10 properties at once. Thankfully, 4 or 5, actually 4 are sold, and then the rest are rented. But it was hard, right? And I felt so bad for my daughter, because I didn't have anyone to take care of her, and I felt like she was taking the back seat. But you know, we still play with her, and she comes and throws herself at us and throws us kisses and stuff, and it makes it worth it, you know. But it was really hard. Like, I didn't know where to even start, like where to finish. Like and you have to rely on people, and that's where, you know, I have my brother that helps me, and my brother's the opposite of me. He's super organized. I have Sabrina that works with us too. She takes care of all of our like fall tour, our showing time, anything that has to do with communicating with RE/MAX, and making sure we're in good standing with you guys. she takes care of that. And then there's Shadi that's running around, not as much now, to be honest. We've taken a lot of our business virtually now. Like the listings, I sign them before I see them, and then, you know, if we need to adjust price once I see it, then we do so. And I always say that. But I think right now we're going day by day and just making sure we put stuff in our calendar that we have to finish that day so that it doesn't fall behind.
So taking more of a proactive approach.
Yeah.
Sounds like, right? And I know through seeing your activity and so forth that you're obviously not sitting around.
No.
And there's a lot of calls and there's a lot of connectivity that I know I see you guys online and doing social media stuff.
That's new. We usually don't have time to do that stuff. And unfortunately, we haven't found the right person to handle that for us. But yes, we've had a little bit, because we're not commuting and running around from one place to another. It's easier to be able to post what we do a little bit more.
So talk to us about your motivation and performing at such a high level. I mean, you said you just listed 10 properties in the last couple of weeks. As a team, fair enough. I mean, it's you and your husband, and I know you have another realtor, Shadi, working with you. So what keeps you motivated to perform at this level every day?
I want to change the way real estate is done. And, you know, I think that the more happy stories we can conquer and create out there, it's good for everyone, right? It's good for our industry. It's good for us. It's, you know, it just makes you happy. I enjoy what I do and I enjoy my clients. And that's another thing. Like, I don't go and take a listing as, you know, just because I want the business. Like, I need to like the persons for me to work with them, because if not, it changes. It will affect our mindset very quick if you're working with someone that is negative or that doesn't appreciate you or values you. So I'm very picky with who I work with, and I'm really lucky to call almost all of our clients friends now, you know, and I think it comes down to that. And one of the things that I always go by, especially when I'm helping someone buy, is I'm really honest. I'll tell people, I don't think you should buy this. And they're like, are you trying to sell a house for me? Like, are you trying to sell me a house or what? And I just said, you know, like, I don't think it's the right property. It doesn't appreciate, you know, like in my case, I spent $600 my first 2 months in my first condo because I had electric baseboard heating. So I'll tell people, you know, no, I don't think we should go look at that. It has baseboard. Like it just, you're going to spend a lot. Ontario has one of the highest hydro costs, right? So I think, you know, going around and just making sure you're putting people in good spots for their future. And, you know, I tell my clients, like, love the home, let me do the negotiations, you know, and I invest a lot in getting us educated. And, you know, I told you I went to Harvard to take a course, which I think all realtors should take. It was a lot of money, almost $10,000 for a week, but it you know, it put perspective in everything. I was there trying to learn to negotiate better for my clients and for us, right? And there was a lady that had been kidnapped for like 200 days, and she was learning to negotiate how to get people back from people that had taken them for ransom in the Middle East. So, you know, you meet a lot of people in your life that you realize they're there for a reason, right? And it just changes your perspective. But I think educating ourselves, and this is the perfect time, when things started to go downhill with COVID, we said, you know what, we're going to reorganize ourselves. We're going to educate ourselves more. I finished my luxury course. So that was our approach. It wasn't really to be busy. It just happened, you know, but I think, you know, we should take this time to invest in ourselves. And I'm not saying go spend yourself $10,000 in a course. I'm saying there's a lot of free things out there, you know, we could watch, we can learn from each other, you know, reach out to agents, you know, and people sometimes get weirded out because I'm, you know, I answer so happy when they call me, but I'm happy to see how I can help you, you know, and if I can help you in any way, I'd be more than happy, because I think this industry should be more collaborative than trying to fight each other or negotiate in a way that puts the other one down, you know. a good deal is a win-win deal, right?
So just like when I reached out to you to, to interview, Jen was all over this. She said, absolutely, what can I do? I'm always there. What can I help? So I think that in watching you grow and in watching how your business has developed and how it's continued to develop over the last, specifically over the last 45 days, because it is a bit unique. I think it's all very much attitude. And you said something earlier about doubling down, that you and Leonardo decided to double down when COVID came along. And I know that there was a financial investment part of that, but what was the other part of it? And can you give us I know it wasn't all just money when you say we doubled down.
You lost me there, Dan, sorry.
Is it my mic?
No, I'm trying to, I talked so much that sometimes I don't know what I said.
That's okay. So what other activities have you been performing over the last month and a half to 2 months that have been a step up from
so
what
you mean like calling people and
stuff that you weren't doing 90 days ago, and you're doing it more so now?
Well, we're on social media more now. We're reaching out to people. We have time to reach out to people. We've been doing a lot. So maybe I'm missing something that I told you yesterday.
Yeah, no, it was just, you said to me, I'm trying to attend, I'm trying to educate myself. We're trying to get better. You said something earlier about putting your systems in place because you knew that there was gaps in your systems and gaps in some of your procedures with your stuff, so are you, is it a sort of a daily routine that you're collaboratively sitting down saying, okay, we need to tackle this week and just get it to where it needs to be?
So we started using RealVolve. I actually have had RealVolve for a few years. I'm not gonna lie, but the last month we decided to pay, I think it was like $5,000 or $6,000 to get them to help us speed it up. And we have weekly meetings now with our team to try to put our systems in place so that, when one buyer is buying this house and the other one's buying this one, they get similar experiences, right? If we send them a thank you note for deciding to work with us. We know there's a lot of options out there, and we want to make sure that we don't skip stuff. And when we're so busy, it's really hard to keep track of all those things, and you prioritize what needs to be done and has to be done versus what you want to be done to give those clients that experience, right? Sometimes we were giving our thank you gifts, like our closing gifts for our buyers, a little bit too late. It would take us 3 weeks or 4 weeks to drop it off, and really it should have been the day after or 2 days after, right? And you know what, the reality, Dan, is that I don't think we're in the best position out there in terms of financials. I was pregnant. I was with my baby at home the entire year last year, and I was just going back to work. We obviously, it's an investment. Let's just put it out there. It's not that we're drowning or swimming in money, like we aren't, but we know that doing this investment is going to pay off down the road. And all businesses invest, they have capital expenses, they have rent, they have equipment, like they have to invest to be able to produce and be profitable eventually, right? And we're doing that.
Jen, can you do me a favor?
Yes.
Can you turn your camera to your left? Show me what's behind you.
Oh, sorry. So that's just marketing planning.
I've been looking at it. So those are sticky notes, right?
Yeah. So there's a book called New Business Model, and it basically has a Canva where you could put what are your channels of distribution in terms of how are you going to channel out your business? What are the revenue sources? Is it one? Is it a few of them? Where are you going to where are you gonna put your business? Like what is your consumer? So it breaks it down really neatly, and anyone that wants it, I can send it over, just let me know. But it just, you can write down and itemize, you know, so you have your competition, your customer segment, and all that. So yeah, I do a lot of those.
Absolutely.
I
So
think
go ahead, Ben.
Johnder, please. I was just going to say, so just like everybody else, it's not a majorly sophisticated, magical thing that's happening. I mean, you got sticky notes behind you, and that's what you're using on a daily basis to remind yourself and to propel yourselves forward. So Johnder, go ahead.
Absolutely. So it's such a great thing to hear that from humble beginnings, starting out in Honduras with your family, you came over to Canada and you established yourself in real estate here. And throughout your journey, you learned about setting up the business. You spent a lot of time investing in learning and education, learning negotiation, attending training sessions, and you picked up so many different things. And it's great to see that amidst what's happening right now with such challenges, you're even more, as Dan put it, you're doubling down, you're putting even more effort. So with all that's going on right now, Jenniffer, and I'm sure your business is really busy, by all means, you're also taking very good precautions amid what's happening out there. What does your next 60 to 100 days look like? What are your plans? What are your goals? What are you doing moving forward the next couple of weeks and days and then months?
So our immediate goal right now is to just finish our workflows for both buyers and sellers, and just having our step-by-step, like really down to a T, right? Because the reality is that we're running around like chickens with no heads because we don't have these things in place, right? And then you're like, what am I forgetting? And you try to juggle everything in your head. And you know, the brain is very powerful, but if we had it all organized, it would be much easier, right? So that's one of the things that is in our immediate to-do, you could say. The next one is I want to take more of the trainings, especially Barbara is an amazing trainer. Like I took a course on SRS with Barbara in January, and I said, I am never missing her trainings again. Like, because I didn't go to the trainings because of I was in school or I was pregnant or I was with my baby at home, and I didn't prioritize that. And the reality is that we have so much value at Hallmark that, you know, other agents would be so jealous to hear about, you know. I came from another brokerage that didn't have even half of what Hallmark has. And sometimes I say to Dan, you know, what if we had this, you know? And he's like, it's there, you know? And I'm like, today I asked, you know, at the group, I'm like, who has a letter of opinion? And Dan in the morning sent it to me. Like I woke up, saw my email, and there it was. So, you know, we have so many resources. I told Barbara, coach me, please coach me. She's like, go on my email. There's a link there. You can have a 30-minute coaching with me. I'm like, I didn't even know about this, you know? So I think we're really missing out on a lot because we're not as involved and we're not looking, right? It's just a matter of asking, right?
Absolutely. So it's very very encouraging to hear that from you, especially your experience and overall. And just before we finish up here today, some of our listeners, fellow Hallmarkers, fellow realtors in the industry, and of course your family, friends, your supporters, some of our realtors and Hallmarkers right now, and everybody in general is very, you know, they may have concerns about what's happening with this global pandemic. There's concerns about the economy, about health issues, about safety. And yet at the same time, we have to sit down, focus on our business, and keep the momentum going. So Jen, for the realtors, for the Hallmarkers listening to this, and for anybody looking for inspiration today, and they want some sort of guidance, they want some sort of direction, what would be the advice you would share to them?
I would say don't give up, guys. The reality is that our decisions today, and you know, it's something that I used to hear a lot from my father, your decisions today are what's gonna, how do I say this? What we decide to do today is what's gonna transpire in the next few weeks and the next few months. We could choose to watch TV all day, enjoy Netflix, watch everything is out there, but it's gonna show in a few weeks. You know, it's gonna reflect in our bank accounts. It's gonna reflect in our energy. Like, I'm not saying keep working as business is normal, because it isn't, right? But get out there, connect with people, you know, improve yourself. Like, I wish, I'm gonna take that back, because I don't wish changing anything. I love my daughter, but I wish I could have more hours per day. And I think that if I didn't have my daughter and I wasn't where I was right now, I would just be jumping on trainings. If there's any recordings of past trainings at our office, I would be looking at them and taking them. And, you know, we have to build ourselves to be better agents, to be able to charge what we charge. And if you think about it, we have the potential of making more than surgeons. And we don't have to go to school for 10 years or pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for our education. So investing $1,000, $2,000 of education per year or per 2 years, or the free trainings we get at Hallmark, is just a commitment in terms of time mostly than it is in money, right? And it's worth doing it. Absolutely. I was an education junkie. I'd be at the board for every training when I first started. And it was part of me growing myself, because I was a woman, I was an immigrant. I didn't know Ottawa. I wasn't from here. So, you know, for me to convince people to work with me, I had to show that I had something extra, right? So I would say invest in yourself.
That's very inspiring and such a very positive outlook. So thank you very much, Jenniffer, for sharing that. Thank you. So we want to thank you so much. You've shared such great wisdom with us today. Thank you so much for joining us on the Driven Real Estate Show. And just before we finish off, and we will go into a Q&A session for everybody who's here with us live, how can anybody listening to this, how can they reach out to you? So how can a fellow RE/MAX Hallmarker send you out a referral if they were looking for clients who need help in Ottawa? Or how can anybody connect with you? Website, social media, telephone, everything. Go ahead and tell us how to reach out to you, Jenniffer.
Well, honestly, the best way is to call me or to text me, and I'll call back or something. You can email me too, but I like face-to-face, and that's why this situation is hard. But, you know, any way you want to reach me, you'll reach me. So my email is jen@jentheagent.com. And my phone number is 613-218-3543. So for anyone that needs anything, and I don't mean just, I need help with a referral. Like, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to assist.
Jen, I'm gonna put Beta on here. She's got a question, Beta. So Beta, I've just unmuted you. You had a question for her to take a picture of her back screen.
Yes, please.
Can you explain that?
Something from your backside. Yes, you mentioned that you will send it. Kindly, I appreciate if you have.
Canva, yeah.
I send you my email address. I just looking for different idea, and just I want to see what is this idea. I don't want to copy, just I want to have something in my mind.
Okay, yeah. So the Canva is actually a blank one, but if you want an idea of what I've been working on, sure, yeah, send me an email and I'll send it over.
I did send it to you, but I don't know if you can take it from here or I should send it directly to your email address.
Yeah, send me an email directly to my email. That would be best.
If you can send your email address or leave it on the page, I will send it.
Jen the agent, right? Jen?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Leo. It's right. It's on there now.
And the book earlier. So the book earlier was Business Model Generation, as I had thought. So Leo, thank you very much for sharing that. It's a fantastic book. I have a copy of it at my home office as well. It's a very great visual approach to planning out your business. And I think it is a must read for all realtors and all business owners for that matter. So thanks for sharing that, Jen and Leo.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jen, folks?
Now's the time to ask.
All right, well, this session is going to be recorded. And for all of you that were just asking, and Jen made a comment about all the things that Hallmark has to offer. So tomorrow at 2 p.m. on the training calendar, I will be reviewing the Hallmark Hub. So for those of you that don't know how to get on it and don't know all the tools and resources that are there, I'm putting in a plug for my session tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Thank you for doing that, Dan.
Please feel free to join in.
And where else can they find the training and events, Dan, for anybody who wants to join us for our training and events?
I think they can just go to trainingandevents.ca or just go to the Hallmark Hub. I really, really, really want our agents to go to the Hallmark Hub. There's so many valuable tools that are being uploaded into that one centralized place, so you guys aren't scrambling. Where do I get this? Where do I get this? It's all in one completed portal, one login, one sign in. So if you want to jump in tomorrow, that would be great. And you're getting a ton of thanks here, Jen. So we thank you once again for taking the time.
Thank you very much, Jenniffer. And for those of you who are listening live to this, you have witnessed a live-driven real estate show by RE/MAX Hallmark recording. We will be having it published on iTunes and Android. Dan, you're an Android user, so what do they call it when you listen to podcasts on Android?
Oh gosh, I have no idea.
Well, yeah, Jen is going to be an iTunes star and an Android podcast star, whatever you choose it. And we will also be putting this up on YouTube for our Hallmark Driven channel. If you want to listen to past podcasts, visit www.hallmarkdriven.com. And if you go to iTunes or Android, whatever you Android users, I apologize. I don't use Android.
Thank you, Robert.
There you go. It's called podcast. Okay, it's called podcast, just like iTunes is called a podcast. Thank you very much, Robert. Go and check it out on there as well. Jen, you wanted to say something?
I have a bunch of questions here, and they're privately, and I don't know if I'll be able to answer them. If once this ends, I can still access them. So if I don't get back to you, send me an email, because I see a few private questions and I'm not sure if I'll have a chance to reply them.
Absolutely. So stay tuned for that, hallmarkdriven.com, and we'll see everybody soon. So if you don't have any more questions, thank you so much for joining us. Jenniffer, thank you so much again. Dan and I are signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Have a fantastic day, everybody. Thank you very much.
Have an awesome day. Thank you. Bye-bye.